Survival games have always felt like homework to me. Endless resource gathering, constant threats, and rarely any real narrative drive. Then Grounded 2 came about, and suddenly I wasn't just checking boxes. I was exploring an entire universe hidden in plain sight. Imagine being reduced to the size of an ant in your local park. Blades of grass now rise like redwoods. Ladybugs lumber about like ancient creatures. And spiders, well, they exaggerate my deepest arachnophobia. When Grounded 2 hit the scene in early access, 50,000 players jumped into it on Steam, and this caught my attention. At first, I assumed it was style over substance, but within minutes, I realized this wasn't just another survival loop. The game had a story to tell, and that's what sets it apart. Yes, the world brims with theme park-like wonder, but beneath the surface are quests and some of the most effective environmental storytelling I've seen in the genre. Why am I shrunken again? This is Grounded 2 after all. Why is the very company responsible for my situation suddenly trying to work with me? And what happened to the other people who came before me? I love exploration, but I also crave purpose. Grounded 2 provides both clear quests when you want direction, as well as subtle nudges to craft or build when you want to carve your own path. Each discovery feels like another piece of a much larger puzzle. My name is Paul, this is Load and Behold, and let's talk a little bit about Grounded 2 in early access. Let's start with the quest that really hooked me. One of my first major objectives was to build a hatchery, the key to unlocking a rideable insect companion. To do that, I needed acorn tops. Simple enough, I thought, until I realized the area that I had scouted with acorns was crawling with spiders. They killed me almost instantly. I retreated, reworked my gear, and returned stronger. This time, I managed to bring them down and finally collect the acorn tops I needed to construct the hatchery. The next step was more daunting, retrieving a red ant soldier egg. This would eventually hatch into a rideable ant ally, but the only place to find one was inside a nearby ant hill. When I first approached, the soldier ants themselves stopped me in my tracks. Towering, armored, and definitely lethal. I died very quickly, but here's where Grounded 2 surprised me a bit. The game is forgiving in smart ways. You can set a respawn point anywhere by crafting a simple leaf bed, and when you die, your gear isn't lost forever. It's waiting in a backpack you can reclaim. That small detail turned frustration into determination. I re-equipped and pushed further into the tunnels, and that's when the environment started telling its own story. Research equipment was scattered along the walls. Lights and terminals were still humming, and even abandoned bunks suggested that scientists had once lived here, studying the ants. Whatever happened to them though, it didn't end well. And then, deeper inside the anthill, I came face to face with something worse. A spider, larger than any I'd seen yet, with a strange device mounted to its head that pulsed with light. Was it being controlled somehow? Could it be even a friend? I crept closer to find out, but this was fatal. It lunged and I died in a single strike. On my next attempt, I took no chances. I snuck past it and finally spotted the soldier ant egg. I grabbed it and sprinted for the exit, not daring to look back until I saw open sky. On one hand, I left the anthill with more questions than answers. Where were the missing scientists? And what comes next? But in reality, I gained far more than I lost. What I crafted was a personal story of persistence. Each death wasn't a failure, but a lesson. I fought ants, outsmarted spiders, and in the process, discovered something about myself. In this miniature world, even the smallest victories feel monumental. Oh, and don't forget, I got my rideable ant friend. But with that in mind, let's talk a bit about crafting, combat, and exploration. Crafting blends familiarity with novelty. Grass chopped with your Omni tool becomes walls for a shelter. Sap and fiber mix into bandages. A pet ant can even carry some bigger materials back to your base. But survival isn't just about looking good. It's about staying alive. You'll need to roast bugs for sustenance, collect dewdrops hanging from blades of grass to quench your thirst, and you can even brew up smoothies from bug parts, giving you combat buffs that make the difference in tougher fights. Combat does evolve quickly too. Shields reward well-timed parries, bows let you exploit weak points, and armor encourages different playstyles. Every insect has unique attack patterns to study and weaknesses to exploit. Early combat might seem pretty simple, but it quickly reveals itself to some reasonable complexity. What feels impossible at first becomes manageable as you upgrade your gear. And that's where exploration ties it all together. It isn't just about discovery, it's about progression. New zones of the park don't just look different, they demand better tools, stronger armor, and smarter tactics. The world naturally gates itself off, and every step deeper feels earned. The result is a world that feels alive, layered, and always surprising. But for me, what truly elevates Grounded 2 is its art direction. Slightly cartoonish, but always convincing. Textures on mints are so detailed you can almost feel the grit. Gnats that somehow manage to be both adorable and infuriating. And spiders rendered so convincingly that, I did want to turn on that arachnophobia setting. As someone who typically avoids survival games, Grounded 2 won me over. Its story hooks, its sense of discovery, and its environmental storytelling make the world endlessly inviting. Make no mistake, there are still some of those survival craft tropes here in the game. And this is still in early access. So whether it holds up long-term remains to be seen. But with a robust roadmap and co-op already in place, the promise here is absolutely enormous. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you can.